Rick Davies, co-founder of Supertramp, has died. He was 81. I'm John Bowden. This is Rock History Music. He was one half of the creative songwriting team between Roger Hodgson and Rick Davies, who wrote the bulk of the Supertramp repertoire. Rick was a keyboardist, vocalist, and co-leader of the band. He passed away a few days ago, September 5th, 2025, at his home in Long Island after a long illness. Quite a few years ago, the Supertramp tour had to be canceled when he was diagnosed with multiple myeloma. You know, for fans of Supertramp and anyone who was into prog, this marks the passing of one of the most distinctive voices in music. A man whose earthy baritone and lyrical grit helped define a generation of songs that still echo across radio waves and concert halls today. He was born Richard Davies, July 22nd, 1944, in Swindon, England. He grew up surrounded by working-class realities that would later inform much of his writing. A drummer first, Davies soon gravitated towards the piano and organ, and that became his lifelong signature. In 1969, with the support from financier Stanley August Myskos, he assembled a group that would eventually evolve into Supertramp. Destiny called, he met Roger Hodgson. And together they built one of rock's most unique and enduring songwriting partnerships. The contrast between Roger Hodgson and Rick Davies is what made Supertramp really special. That was the magic. Hodgson supplied the ethereal, high-pitched tenor with whimsical melodies, while Davies grounded the band with his blues-tinged baritone and a thoughtful, darker lyrical perspective. The combination created some of the greatest albums in rock history, starting with their third, when the band regrouped. And of course, we're talking about the classic Crime of the Century from 1974. Then came Crisis What Crisis the following year. Even in the quietest moments in 77, which had their first big hit, Give a Little Bit, and their commercial juggernaut, 1979, Breakfast in America, where all things just fell together. They crafted a sound that was progressive yet accessible, cerebral, and yet radio-friendly. Davies was behind some of their most memorable songs. His wry and biting delivery made Bloody Well Right an unforgettable center point to Roger Hodgson's Dreamer. He powered Goodbye Stranger with both a swagger and that melancholy embodiment, that tension between freedom and loneliness. He was also the voice of Crime of the Century, one of the band's darkest, most ambitious songs, and later steered political charge with the epic Brother, Where You Bound in 1985. That was after Roger left. That album especially was a reminder of his true artistry, that he could still carry this band. Was it as good? Probably not. But they were still a great group. Even after Supertramp's classic lineup dissolved in the early 1980s, Davies, as mentioned, kept the band alive, touring with new lineups and keeping the flame of the music burning. And a lot of fans remained quite loyal to Supertramp at that stage, even though they missed Roger. Though quieter in personality than Hodgson, Davies was the band's new anchor, the glue that held together the shifting eras of their career. And his resilience went way beyond music. As mentioned, in 2015, he was diagnosed with multiple myeloma. It's a serious form of cancer, and they were forced to cancel that 2015 tour. They were ready to go. He underwent treatment with courage and determination. That's what everyone says. I've had this in my own family life, and this is usually a deadly diagnosis. Remember, he got this in 2015. So he was really resilient. For a lot of fans, his health battle was a painful reminder of time's passing, really. When our heroes start dying, it's a tough one. Or when they just really get sick, which happens as we age, right? But one thing's for sure, his recovery allowed him to spend precious time with his family and friends. He was very clear about that, even though his public appearances kind of grew rarer. Beyond the spotlight, Rick Davies was known as a very private person. We on this channel have interviewed Roger Hodgson, John Helliwell 4 times. He was the sax man of the band, and their drummer, Bob Siebenberg. Their bassist, Doogie Thompson, and Rick Davies are the only 2 we never interviewed. And they all told us the same thing. Rick was very private. He was really more comfortable behind the keyboard than in front of the microphone, except if he was singing, of course. But his music spoke volumes. With his songs, he explored themes of alienation, freedom, responsibility, and the passage of time, which today we're all thinking about. He also sang 2 of my favorite songs from their biggest album, Breakfast in America, Oh Darling and Just Another Nervous Wreck. To this day, I remember the first night I bought the album in 79. I was in grade 12. And to this day, I still remember my reactions to hearing those 2 songs. As much as everyone loved the Logical Song, and I back then was more of a Roger Hodgson fan, it started changing a little bit through the years. So I became a 60-40 guy, more of a Rick Davies guy as opposed to Roger Hodgson. I know that's different for everyone, but that's the way it goes. Rick Davies leaves behind his wife, family, and legacy of his music that continues to really inspire generations. And his passing closes a chapter for Supertramp, even though we all knew with the legal battles over the songwriting where the other three members were suing Roger Hodgson and Rick Davies. I think we all knew it was never going to happen again. But Davies' work with Supertramp remains immortal, really. Songs like Goodbye Stranger, Bloody Well Right, and Crime of the Century are radio staples, and they always will be. There is something really powerful that happened after their self-titled debut, and Rick was there, and Roger, indelibly stamped that came after that. But then Crime of the Century, they were a whole new band that were surrounding Rick Davies and Roger Hodgson. Then Crisis What Crisis, followed by Even in the Quietest Moments, Breakfast in America, and then Famous Last Words. Those were the last ones. Those were the ones with Roger Hodgson. End of an era. We're losing a lot of people lately, and it's kind of tough. It's musicians who are not out there anymore. Doesn't hurt any less. We knew Supertramp was done. We tip our hat to Rick Davies. Do you have any memories? Concerts, did you ever meet him? Supertramp memories in general, concert memories? I'm John Bowden. Make sure you comment on our videos, subscribe to our channel, share our videos, and like them as well. This is Rock History Music.